Hey everybody, welcome. So this is the Linux training, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over some Linux installations, Linux commands, the basics of Linux to get you up to speed and to be able to work with Linux, which I think is really important. And I think the thing about it is Linux is really a lot of fun. It's super fun. So if we go to right here, we're going to go to Rocky Linux. That's what we're going to install. We're going to install Rocky Linux. I've downloaded this already. You can come in here, you can download it. What Rocky Linux is a completely compatible RHEL clone, basically. So what they do is they take the source RPMs and they compile them. They remove any branding for RHEL, for Red Hat, and what they do is they compile it up and it should be exactly the same. So that's the really cool part, and it's completely free. So with RHEL, you have to pay for a license to get updates, to be able to get updates. With these, you don't. You can get these for free. You get these updates, no problem. It's really a good project. So it Rocky Linux really replaces the old CentOS project, which Red Hat bought a few years back and then turned it into their upstream, constant changing Linux system. So they use that for all their dev, and they put in new features. So it's not going to be as stable. So this is going to be just as stable as Red Hat Enterprise Linux. That's the benefit here. All right, so I downloaded it right here. I went to this download page. I said, hey, I would like to download this. I got the minimal x86 64 ISO. Just grab that. And you can see the planned end of life for this, May 31st, 2032. So it gives you 10 years of support, which is really nice. And security updates and all of that. So you can use this in your enterprise without worrying about it being end of life, the next day. With now CentOS, you don't have that same luxury. So that's why you're going to use Rocky Linux. All right, so let's go to our Rocky Linux install. And this is all being done in EVE-NG. As you can see, we have EVE-NG here. I can minimize this. I've got ESXi, two ESXi hosts, a vCenter, and that's what we're going to go to. That's what we're going to look at right here. This is our vCenter. Here are two ESXis, right? They're set up. Rocky Linux right here. So I just created a VM. And we'll take a look at the settings right here. So I just created a VM, two CPUs, 6 gigs of memory, 50 gig hard drive. So this is on top of EVE-NG, which is pretty cool that you can do this. You can set up an ESXi host, and you can set up vCenter, and you can do all of that right here in EVE-NG. It's pretty awesome. All right, so what I did was I mounted a data store ISO file right here, ISO Rocky 9. So let's start that. Let's start this VM. So we're going to go to power on. And then what we'll do is we'll launch this web console. And here we go. So here we're going to install. Let's make sure we can do this. Yeah, it doesn't look like my keyboard is working in here. All right, so I'm not sure what we picked there. But basically, we want to just pick install. All right, so it's loading. It's going to check. Now we're gonna escape from that because we do not want to do that. We don't need to do that. Okay, so it's going to bring up the installer. So let's see if we can. Let's wait for this installer to come up. Here we go. Okay, so now we're in the installer and we can pick. So English is the default. We're going to pick English, but you can pick any of these languages right here. Click continue. They really streamlined the RHEL install in the last couple, like probably 7, 8. I don't know if you've worked with 6 and prior, it wasn't this clean. It's pretty clean. It's all on one page. Installation summary. You get right here. There are requirements, right? Please complete the items marked. So you need to add a root password. So let's do that. So I'll just make this pretty simple for my needs here. It's a weak password. Oh, it's a good password. All right, it's a good password. It's really not. Actually, what did I type in that? So I can click here. Okay, my hands were in the wrong place on the keyboard because that's not really what I wanted to type. So I'm just going to do test 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it doesn't like that. This isn't going. Test 1, 2, 3. Exclamation. Okay. So here you can lock the root account. We're not going to do that. And you can allow root SSH login with password. So this is new in 9. Because before with RHEL and with Rocky or anything else like this, you were always allowed to use the root SSH login with password. We're just going to say yes right now. Although it's discouraging us to do this now. So that's good. That's a good security item. So you can see the password fails the dictionary check, right? It's too simplistic, obviously. Test 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a bad password. Everyone knows that. So you're going to have to click done twice to confirm. And do I want to allow the root? You know what? Let's say no to that. Let's keep this default. So now there's more default security, and I'm going to have to do it again. There. So now the root password set, time and date, you can set that. Language support, you can set that. Keyboard, you can set that. Installation source, it's going to be our local media. Software selection, we're just going to do a minimal install. We can install other things afterwards. Installation destination, this I like to do. And it looks like you have to do this. So what you can do here, and what I most often do when I'm installing, is I'll go in and do this full disk and summary bootloader. No, that's not it. Let's see. So it's selecting that disk. Automatic. I like to go into custom. Okay. Now it should allow me to go in there and actually configure this. Let's see where that was. If I click done, That's where it takes me in. So here it's taking me in here. And it's going to create. So what I like to do is I like to create. You can create them automatically in here. You click this. There, it's created all the different systems. So you got the root, the slash. That's the root. It's the boot volume right there, and the swap. So that looks fine. If you're good with all this, yeah, we'll just leave it like this. It's doing LVM, an XFS file system. Looks good. So that's perfect. Sometimes what they'll do is you can separate it into a bunch of different mount points. Like you might want to have var mounted somewhere else, but this is good. This is just mounting everything all in the root. So that's perfect. I like this. You can also encrypt if you wanted to. So that looks good. So I'm going to say done. And I'm going to accept these changes. And there, that one's ready. Okay, next thing you have to do, or you should do, is the network and host name. So let's do that. So we'll name this Rocky. Rocky 001. So you can see what it did is it pulled a DHCP address right there. We're going to actually configure this. Since we have DHCP on this subnet, we're able to do that, but we'd rather have it set up for a static. Let's do a static address. So set it to manual, add, we'll make this 10.10.100. Let's do 90. Net mask is 24 in our case, and the gateway is 10.10.100.200.1. So that, let me fix this. That should be 200. Okay, perfect. So that looks good. DNS servers. What we're going to do for this, we'll just do 8.8.8, and I'll show you how to change this in the system once we're in there. No search domains. Everything else looks good. Let's go to IPv6. You can have this on automatic, or we can just say ignore it. Okay. So we .90, everything's, so that's it. You're done. You're done really the installation part. That's all you have to do. You just go on this one page, set up your installation options, and we can begin. So once we begin, it's going to write to that disk. It's also going to give us an option to create a user, which we're going to need to do because we cannot SSH using root anymore. Yeah, I think even in 8.0, it still gave the option to log in as root. All right, so while this runs, I'm going to pause the recording, and I'll be back when it completes. Okay, the installation completed, and that took about 10 minutes or so. And we will now reboot the system. Okay, so let's see, make sure this boots into the new OS instead of the CD-ROM. It should be set up for the hard drive to boot first, but we'll see in a minute. Rocky Linux, okay. I can't see if it's rebooting or not. It's hard to tell here. All right, so I'm going to, if I don't see this changing, yeah, it looks like it's not changing. There we go. Okay, so it is rebooting. Let's wait for it to come up. VMware. And there it is, Rocky Linux 5, the kernel is 5.14. All right, so there it is. There's the Rocky Linux. Now we're able to log in as root here. We did not create another user yet. So this should work. Okay, and we're in. So what we can do right now is add a user that we're going to log into. So I think we just do an add user. Okay. Yep, add user. Chris R. And then I can set the password. Chris R. And a new password. And you can guess what that password is. All right, so that's the installation. And that's the first step in getting your Rocky Linux system set up. All right, thank you, and please join me for the next video.